Here we are again at the Gesù, the mother church of the Jesuit order. We were here before talking about relics and reliquaries and the arm of Francis Xavier blessing inside the right transept. Now we're here to talk about the Gesù as the target for the Possessor route. We've come down the Via del Sudario on a long straight street that straddles San Andrea della Valle, the Theatines church, with the Jesuits church here. And the Jesuits are another kind of deflector. They're both a target, but they're also set at just enough of an angle to point us towards the Campidoglio, our destination for this class, and a major landmark on the Possessor route. The Gesù was designed by the architect Giacomo della Vignola, and Vignola was an architect who was involved with a number of church projects, palaces, and villas around Rome. And he worked for the Jesuits in the beginning of this church design, but did not actually do the facade. And the facade is what we're interested in now because it is a kind of billboard, if you like. When we talked about San Andrea della Valle, we talked about the fact that we could only really see it well in the oblique as a kind of passing experience, a very plastic sculptural experience. This one is this great elegant silhouette with a rather subtle modulation of architectural surface. It basically diagrams the organization of the church on the inside. The center three bays correspond to the nave, and the two side bays that are under the scrolls on either side are the chapels. The Gesù, unlike many Roman basilicas, did not have side aisles. The Jesuits, like the Theatines, were a great preaching order, and so they wanted a large space for the largest amount of crowds, and chapels that were really subsidiary to the nave, not actually another side aisle. So the diagram of the facade is quite literally the diagram of the interior. Now, the architect of this facade is also the architect of the Theatines church, San Andrea della Valle. He did not do its facade. That was also realized later in the 17th century by Carlo Rinaldi and others. But this facade is a wonderful example in Rome of the kind of thing that we rarely get, a facade that can be seen from a great distance. Even St. Peter's, as we discussed, couldn't be seen until the modern era from a long way away because of the spina of buildings in the Borgo Leonino. So here we have a church that's very much a target, oriented this way by the Jesuits deliberately to respond to the Possessor route. They replaced here, again, like other churches we've seen, a smaller, much smaller church with a different orientation. This church was turned towards the Possessor route, turned towards the approach from St. Peter's. But in fact, it also creates, for them, an optimum canonical organization because in fact, their apse, the back of the church, faces east as it should. So as such, it's a perfect response to its site and a paradigmatic facade that had an influence all over Rome and all over Europe, really. In fact, even including St. Peter's and San Andrea della Valle. But it's also the perfect deflector, the place that we come to a station point, turn, and are reoriented to a landmark on the Possessor route. So we'll let the church do what it's supposed to do, send us off to the Campidoglio.